Good evening again, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the film. Now it's time to meet the cast. So first up, please say hello to Jeremy Irons. You saw her as Paolo Franchi, Camille Cotton. Salma Hayek is here too. Looking a little bit different to how he did in the film, Jared Leto. As Maurizio Gucci, Adam Driver. We've got one seat left. Should we say hello to Lady Gaga? Well, thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Congratulations on the film. What a treat for the eyes this film is. I was reading an interview with Janty Yates, your wonderful costume designer who's worked with Ridley Scott a lot. She said there are about 1,000 costumes in the film, I think around 100 just for Patrizia. Perhaps, Lady Gaga, you can start things off by telling us a bit about your conversations with Janty about Patrizia's look, her wardrobe, her clothes. What were the things you discussed with Janty?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here tonight and having all of us. I very much appreciate being here. Thank you for your time. I had a lot of conversations with Janty Yates about the clothing for Patrizia. What was really important to me was that the fashion was never distracting, and also that she was never as shiny as the Gucci's. There was always something a little off about Patrizia, and I was really sort of obsessed with an accuracy when it came to, not inaccuracy, an accuracy, to the way that she dressed, because there were very specific things that she wore. More is more with Patrizia, and also it informed the character in so many ways. But I will say that the trailer was like a science lab. We had mood boards, we had continuity photos, and I would say that the hair and makeup was really special because every day before we started, I sat down with the team and I went over the scene each time we began hair and makeup. I talked about what the scene was about, what I believed we were trying to say. So everything orbited around the story. To me, if the story orbits around the fashion, it's wrong. So that's just a small little peek into the window of the fashion of Gucci.
But some of these outfits were from your collection, is that right?
There were some things from my collection, yes. But that's just because I'm a collaborative person and I loved working with Janty. And so I said, hey, if you need anything from my wardrobe, what's mine is yours.
And Adam, how much footage is there of Maurizio, archive footage is there of him for you to study and get an idea of who he was and his mannerisms? Was there a lot out there?
I don't know. I'm only aware of the stuff that I watched, so maybe there's more, but I wasn't aware of it. But I wasn't limited to just the videos. There's what people had to say about him. There was the book, but ultimately, it's the script is what you kind of go with.
And in terms of the outfits, I mean, obviously he's much more of a sober dresser, Maurizio. But were these replicas of what he wore, or was it more imagining what he might have worn?
It's safe to say he wore Gucci suits, so we knew that. The
Gucci belt.
A Gucci belt and some shoes. But really, we tried to mirror what the character was going through. So we stuck with more collegiate-looking things at the beginning, and the most himself is when he's in school. He kind of rebels and becomes or is trying to become a lawyer, which is a slight rebellion. So and the clothes don't quite fit, and then when he gets seduced by Patrizia, and the thing that he knows is toxic, the suits start to get a little more tailored. His hair gets a little shorter to try to be the boss. And then really, you don't see him probably the most realized version of himself until the latter part of his life and our story, when the suits are a little bit more relaxed. His glasses are less sharp, his hair is a little longer, it's like just a slight gray, it's a little brighter, he's a little tanner, because he's finally broke off from the family and is more closer to the person that he started out with. Started out as, the person who could view Gucci from a distance and say that if you have a little bit, then you'll want the whole thing. He was very wise up front to have had distance from it, to see his uncle and his father, be seduced by power and legacy. And he doesn't get it again really until it's the end of the movie, where he also again has distance from it, when the company is taken from him and he has time to be himself. That's why he's on a bike, not a Lamborghini. That's why he lets go of the bike. It's freedom for him for just a little bit, and then it's taken away from him.
It is a remarkable family and a remarkable story. Jeremy, how much did you know about the Guccis and about Rodolfo when you took on this role?
I knew nothing about anything. I had a faint memory that someone had been killed, but I wasn't sure if it was a Versace or a Gucci or who it was. But I knew somebody Italian who worked in fashion had bitten the dust. But I read the script and read the book, of course. And then Janty Yates asked to see my costume collection. And we went through my wardrobe, and she rejected everything. But we found a gentleman who had bequeathed his entire collection after his death of clothes to Cosprop in London, and he had tremendous taste and was exactly my size. So we went through his collection and selected clothes that had a Gucci-like flavor. As I'm only in half a scene on the movie, it wasn't hard to dress me. But if you notice, between scene 1, 2, and 3, there's a slight alteration in my hair. What was your question?
You answered it perfectly. We should talk about Paolo, Jared.
Can you go to someone else first?
Yeah, you got to follow this.
I don't need to follow Jeremy right now.
Now that he's called an idiot many times in the film, isn't he? Amongst other
Excuse
things.
you? What did you?
Now that you've played him, do you think he was misunderstood in any way? Do you think that actually he should have been given more of a break?
Abso-fucking-lutely. What are you talking about? Did you not feel for Paolo? Did you feel his heart? Come on. Okay, thank you, Adam. I appreciate it. No, I think he had a big heart. I actually related to the character quite a lot. I mean, has anyone in here ever wanted to do something special with their lives? Has anyone ever been, frustrated with the inability to make a creative dream come true? I have. And so I found common ground with the character. And I quite fell in love with Paolo. I loved his sense of humor, the fact that he always had a twinkle in his eye. I loved his sense of fashion.
And that humor, is that something we knew about him, or is that your interpretation of him?
Well, I think he had a good sense of humor. I mean, there was just a tiny bit of video footage, and he was just taking the piss the whole time, as you say here. But literally took a piss in the movie too. So there's that. But yeah, I think he did. He always was. He was quite. He had a devilish charm about him, and I enjoyed that. But certainly, we built on the humor as much as we could.
Camille, we love you and Call My Agent, by the way. I won't ask if any of your co-stars here will be in season 5 or not. We'll save that.
I was about to invite them all.
Tell me about preparing to play Paula then, because she's still alive. I believe she's an interior designer. She wrote a book as well. I think the translation is called Broken Love. So did you read the book? Did you meet her? Did you get in touch with her?
I didn't find the translation. Can you confirm there's a translation? Are you sure?
Well, I only know the translation of the title. I don't know if the whole book has been translated.
Because I didn't find it in English. No, so I watched footage of a TV show where she was invited, but it was a bit unpleasant because it was on Italian TV and she had to tell every detail of the last moment when she said goodbye to Paolo, and the journalist is like, and you didn't know it was the last time you would see him, did you? So it was interesting to see her reacting and the way she talked about him, and she seemed like a woman in love and she was very dignified, so that's the thing I inspired from.
There's a lovely line she said, I think she was accused of being a gold digger, essentially. But she said, actually, my previous husband, whom I left for Maurizio, was even richer, so it's all nonsense. And then there is this other love story in the film.
Makes sense.
It does make sense, yeah. There's this other love story in the film as well, isn't there, Salma? Because it's a very close bond going on between Pina and Patrizia. A kind of love, I would say. We know that Pina's a sidekick. We know there's a suggestion, at least, that she casts spells of some kind. Who is she? What's her backstory? What do you know about her?
Well, she was Napolitana, from a humble background. And I think that she's the real deal, because I really do think that Pina could see things. And there's not a lot out there. There's a lot of myths about this woman. But what I think is that maybe at the beginning, when she meets Patricia, she sees that she is about to have a very glamorous life and a very important destiny. And at the beginning, it is about money. It is about like, this is about the glamour or about the shine of it. And I do think that, and for Patricia, like a lot of people I know, because I'm Mexican, there is a codependence to this woman telling, you can create a codependence to it. But at the end, I think Pina kind of falls in love with this woman and understands her and feels her pain and lives vicariously through her. And she really cared. And so she becomes more codependent to Patricia than Patricia to the psychic, to the point where she destroys her life. And she does something that she's going to regret forever, but she's willing to do anything for her. And so it's a very interesting relationship that you don't see very often. And you also don't see it much in the film, because my part is definitely shorter than his last answer. So he doesn't get to complain. But we did work very deeply into it, even if there were not that many scenes.
We've got some questions from the audience. Now, what we're going to do is going to be slightly different. We've got 4 microphones, so we will have 4 questions. This is COVID-y, just to explain it. There are reasons why we're doing it like this. If you are lucky enough to ask a question, please keep hold of the microphone after you've asked the question and then pass it to one of the runners at the end of the evening. So, where are the microphones? Have we got? Oh, there we go, yes. So we'll start over this side. So if we've got some questions over this side, we can get a microphone to you. Okay, there's someone there.
There's a burning desire over
there.
here.
Yes, we'll start with
a
you.
Hand very high.
Very high. Hi.
Hi.
I had a question for Lady Gaga. Like, you can feel sort of the passion and the fire and the ambition in Patricia's eyes. Did you draw from your early career for that? Because I know you were hustling in the gay clubs like very early on. That fire, it felt very real. Was any of that part of it?
What's your name?
Matthew, hi.
Hi, Matthew. Nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you.
Thanks for the question. Hello, darling.
Hi.
So what I would say is that yes, I did hustle in the gay clubs for much of my career, and I owe the gay community a massive love and debt for the way that they showed me love and support for so many years, a place to have a North Star to always follow, a pride that I believed in, and a radical love that I have never experienced. However, Patrizia's discipline for survival is something that I would not equate exactly with my experience with the gay community, but as a woman, bien sûr, of course. What I believe about Patrizia was that her class was so much lower than the Gucci's, and that she was trying so much to matter. What was important to me in the creation of this character was that I followed this idea of what does it feel like, and how can I continue to keep myself throughout filming in a mode of survival at all times, to be honest, about what it's like to be a woman in a man's world. There's systemic patriarchy in the entire universe. Well, the one that I imagine. It's horrible. In the world. In this film, you experience the power of these men, and these men are all around her. I think that what you watch is a series of traumatizing experiences, one after the other, where she's either dismissed or disposed of as she's experiencing these men. And what I find interesting is while she's in this mode of survival, they're obsessed with power. The Gucci's at funerals and at weddings, they hug and they kiss and they're friends, but behind closed doors, they're at each other's throats for money, for privilege, and for power. I find it very interesting that focusing on her fell by the wayside. The true disaster was Patrizia, but they didn't notice because they were all focused on the thing that's inherently evil, which is wealth and privilege. So to answer your question in a very long and roundabout way, I think the gay community taught me a lot about how to see this role and how to provide for the story Patrizia's humanity. I never spoke to the real Patrizia Gucci because it was my perception that she would lie to me, that she had an agenda. This woman wants to be famous, and she wants to control the narrative, and I know somebody like that.
Thank you.
Don't we all?
Thank you. Where's our second microphone? It's over there. So if you just go back a little bit, there's someone with their hands up on the end. There we go.
Hi, my question's for Salma. You were so funny in this film. Absolutely hilarious. I'd love it if you could talk about... Can you not hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I'd
I
love-
can, yes, I can.
I'd love it if you could talk a little bit about your process of working with Gaga and how you found those funny moments, because there were so many.
Very strange. We were trying to be very serious and dramatic. It was a delicious relationship. And really, I'm sorry that you didn't get to see all the scenes because they got cut out. And also because I think that she was sublime in a couple of them. Only I got to see it and experience. As good as you think she is, I know she's even more. But it was amazing. We just had this chemistry. And when he was letting us improvise, we were just two girls from a different class, kind of having a blast at going at this big world. And of course, she had the access, but I was her sidekick coming along, and it was just it was kind of like very sweet. Because a lot of the times she was sweeter with my character because we were just two girls and she didn't have the pressure of many things. But this wonder this wonderment is a beautiful word, and it's a beautiful sensation when you can look up to things and wish for things and wonder what it's like. And I think that even though she is already in a position, when we meet, we kind of share that together. And so some of the comedy comes naturally from a chemistry that at some point Ridley said, you guys got to take it on the road. You're too funny. Let's go again. Because if he let us improvise, we would just keep going. And I got to say, I'd love to see you in a comedy one day.
Yeah, and well,
Brilliant,
it
fucking
was
brilliant.
it's still a comedy.
We
But
should take
to
it on the
speak to
road.
Ridley as a director as well with us, there's a whole side of this film that you did not see, where Pina and I developed a sexual relationship.
Should I?
And
Should I go?
nobody,
Should I tell them?
Okay, yeah, the director's cut, who knows? But
Maybe.
But this is a testament to him as a director, because he allowed us to go there. And I remember being on set with Salma and going, so after Maurizio dies, maybe it gets hot. And she was like,
You
"What are
think
you
she's
talking about?"
kidding?
You've worked with Ridley Scott a couple of times, Adam. Is improvisation something you've done with him? Is it something he often encourages?
Yeah, he's designed his set for everyone to be spontaneous. You know, he has 4 cameras at a minimum on set. I think for like Black Hawk Down, some scenes he was saying earlier, he had 17 cameras, you know. But so I feel like when it's like that, it feels like theater in the round. It doesn't really feel like you're making a movie. And so he really likes it when you surprise him. And he is a big fan of momentum, and he doesn't and a big fan of filmmaking, and specifically the economy of filmmaking. Nothing makes him more insane than wasting fucking time and wasting money. You know, he'd much rather like, fuck it, we'll put the big blue thing behind it and we'll just shoot it right here, as opposed to traveling and wasting us time and momentum. And he knows that. Which is different than everybody, and there's no right way. It's just his way. Which is great to be a part of. It's the opposite of well, I was gonna say it's the opposite of someone who's very controlling, but in a way, it's control in a different way, knowing his boundaries, you know, and sticking to them militantly. It's not a process that you're imposing on the set. You're walking into Ridley's process, which is. Exciting as an actor, because you get to be promiscuous with different directors, and even with this cast, I'd say, you know, we're all different. We all had different ways of working, and there's no right way. But the thing that everyone shares in common, including Ridley, is everyone's prepared. Everyone shows up on time. Ridley has everything storyboarded. You know, it's planned within an inch, and the minute someone comes up with a better idea or an impulse, he gives you a lot of faith, and he switches everything. And he does it like that, and he doesn't overthink it. He doesn't be like, well, I don't know if you've seen this movie Blade Runner, you know, that I did, and he doesn't throw his resume. He's like, okay, yeah, he doesn't sweat the small shit, and because of which you're empowered as an actor, and he's empowered as a director, and you keep moving, and it feels like he has to get it out. You know, and I don't know what that's about, but it's really exciting to be a part of it. It makes you adopt his way of working. You're like, yeah, we got to do this and get the fuck out of here. And there's an energy to it that it makes me really attracted to his movies.
And it really translates on the screen as well.
Especially with this story, I think.
Yeah.
I'm listening to Selma and talk about your guys' scenes together. Like I think if it was another process, it wouldn't have inspired that much creativity. It would have killed it, I think. It would have been, you know, 5 hours on this guy drinking tea, and then you turn around and the other person's checked out by then. They're, you know, checking their phone, or, I mean, not necessarily. You hope for people being professional, but I mean, good luck, you know. I don't know, it makes you want to, it makes you, everybody on set, crew, that's also a big thing. This is a long answer and I'm boring myself, but I'm on a jag. I feel also with crew, momentum is a huge thing that's not really talked about and often. Is like it's the people in front of the camera, but the attitude everybody has lives, everybody's sacrifice. I'm trying to stop it now because people clap, but it's a thing where everyone has an important role, and that's also why he is really faithful to his department heads, and that's why they work with him consistently. So you as an actor, you don't have to worry about costumes because Janty is doing it, and she's been doing it since Gladiator. And same thing with Annie Penn as script supervisor. You don't worry about it. Yeah, Annie Penn is great, yeah. You don't worry about shit. You just do your job. She does her job. You have total faith in everybody else. You just do it, and then everyone goes home. You know, it's great. Not just the going home. Not just the going home, but it's a great time. It's the most fun I've had in a Q&A.
Thank you for that answer. Right, where's microphone number 3? There it is. Okay, should we go over this side? Is there someone right at the back in the pink top?
Because we were talking about how fantastic everybody is, I want to talk about Jared Leto and the makeup and hair process, because I kept thinking, when are you coming into the film? When's Jared coming into the film? And then halfway through realized, oh my gosh, it was an incredible transformative.
Did anybody think, did they miss me? I mean, did you get confused is my question. I mean, it's kind of the highest compliment I think I could be paid, and especially the hair and makeup team. And I'll tell you something about them, is we actually had, I don't know if you guys know this, but we had a different hair and makeup team, and they were working for about, I think, a month. I hadn't spoken to them that much, but we had initial conversations, and they were building and designing, and then they quit out of the blue.
No.
Yeah, 3 weeks before we started. And Joran, who was the genius who came on board, he really saved the day. He came down from Sweden, as they often do, to save us. And, it's always a Swedish person, some Swedish genius. But he came down and these, I mean, everybody just worked, 27 hours a day. And the thing, just to add on to Adam's answer, his rant, the great thing about Ridley is he hires you whatever department you're in, and once he makes the decision that you're the person, he gives you that great gift of faith. He believes in you. And when he believes in you, you have this gift, right? And you show up prepared because you know his bar is high. You know the expectation that we all have inside of ourselves to do something special. But he sets that up with his work and with his action, and that's really a beautiful thing. But I don't know your question. I'm just answering my own. Yeah, hair and makeup. The external stuff is fascinating. I love the idea of a mask. I said this the other day, but the mask can disguise us, but it can also reveal a great deal. And I certainly found that to be the case with this part. As far as I'm concerned, it was the opportunity of a lifetime to work with everybody on this stage and to be a part of Ridley's film. I'm just really absolutely floored with gratitude to be a part of it all. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to microphone number 4. There you are. Now, the first hand I saw was at the back there. So if we can get the microphone up there, that would be fantastic.
First of all, I'd just like to say congratulations to all of you, and obviously to Ridley. I thought it was absolutely wonderful, and I didn't know the story at all, so I was completely gripped.
Thank you.
I'm worried about the poor daughter. I hope she inherited something. But what I wanted to say is that so often in films, when the decision is made for actors to speak in English, but in the accent of the country, it can be problematical. And I thought that all of you adopted the whole stance of being Italian, the intonations that go with the gesticulations of being Italian and articulating so brilliantly. And I wondered whether that was a decision that Ridley had very early on and then made you all study how Italians stand, speak, what they do with their physical thing, because it was seamless. I really loved it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who'd like to answer that? Jared, have you?
Oh, well, no, but
You had the
I'll
microphone
just
to your
say
mouth. I
this:
thought.
that if you study all of the characters, they all spoke, quite differently, and I think that's probably at least the sense that I got from working in the scenes. They were all, someone might have spent more time in London or in New York. They were quite traveled, and some people might have spent more time in Florence. It was a big family, and they had, diversity of dialect there. But I think that we all probably felt, a duty to do our very best and to avoid cliche and to really, and inhabit the characters and the dialect with as much dignity and grace as possible. Yeah.
And Lady Gaga, of course, this was a chance for you to reconnect with your own Italian roots, right? And I know you went very deep into getting the accent right.
I did, but I believe all my fellow actors did on this stage. Everybody was so dedicated and committed to their characters. I'm Italian-American. My family assimilated and came over from Italy. So for me, what was really important was actually separating out the culture of being an Italian-American and knowing that that is not the same as being Italian. So I felt very connected to my ancestry, and also I went to Italy early and spent a lot of time with Italian people, immersed in the culture, talking to people about Patrizia Reggiani, asking questions. And I spent 6 solid months before we started filming on the accent and speaking in the accent as Stefani, as myself, all the time. But I did this because I wanted to be able to speak naturally, and I have to say, I felt that everybody was so accurate in their accents. Everybody was so natural. Being on set was a real honor and a privilege. I can't say enough nice things about Ridley Scott and my cast. This is a group of actors that, you talk about setting a high bar. I don't think anyone on this stage likes walking over low bars. Everybody here wants to walk over high bars. And I feel very blessed to be here, and I feel very grateful and, in my own way, embarrassingly sentimental. Sentimental in the way that my family worked very hard so that I could have a better life that they didn't have. So a big hug from the UK to all of Italy. Thank you for supporting us as a cast, and thank you for supporting this film. It was a red zone, so for me, I didn't live life outside of being on set, and this was my family.
And it's a great note to end on. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining us tonight. Grazie mille. Congratulations on the film. Did I say that okay?
Grazie mille.
Yeah, that was all right, yeah.
Kind
GCSE
of.
Italian. GCSE Italian.
Ciao, 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 ciao.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your questions. Thank you.
Can I ask a question to the audience? Wait, can I ask a question to the audience? Am I allowed to ask one question to the audience?
You are now.
Did you like the film? Please tell all your friends.
Thank you.
Thank you.